if they criticize our democracy, it's not because they lack information. It is because they think they are also political players in our election.
Propaganda. Many use the word when talking about countries like North Korea, Kazakhstan, Iran. Countries viewed as authoritarian through the lens of the Western media. Press freedom, freedom of thought. People use those terms when talking about countries like the United States, France, Australia, democracies.
What should be done when the media engages in propaganda under the guise of freedom of the press? It's crucial to distinguish between true media freedom and propaganda. Propaganda occurs when media outlets disseminate information as directed by their controllers, which indicates that the media is not genuinely free if it only shares stories that damage a nation's image. This has been a pattern observed with Western media in African nations. However, President Traore is not allowing such actions to continue unchecked. He has banned Western media from Burkina Faso. But what will be the implications of this decision? Let's find out. In a bold move to assert its independence and self-reliance, Burkina Faso has suspended BBC and Voice of America from broadcasting within its borders for 2 weeks. This decision follows accusations from these outlets, alleging that the Burkinabe military executed civilians. The government's response highlights a broader theme of rejecting foreign interference and misinformation. What drives Burkina Faso's desire for independence? Burkina Faso's quest for independence is deeply rooted in its complex history of foreign influence, particularly from France. Following its independence from French colonial rule in 1960, Burkina Faso, formerly known as Upper Volta, continued to grapple with significant French influence in its political, economic, and social spheres. This post-colonial relationship often saw Burkina Faso's leaders aligning closely with French interests, a dynamic that fostered resentment and a sense of compromised sovereignty among many Burkinabe. The French influence manifested in various ways, including economic dependency through trade agreements that favored France and military cooperation that saw French troops stationed on Burkinabe soil. Additionally, French companies had substantial control over key sectors such as mining, which is crucial given Burkina Faso's rich mineral resources. This economic entanglement perpetuated a cycle of dependency, limiting the country's ability to chart its development path. Culturally, the impact of French colonialism lingered in the educational system and official language, which continued to be French. This influence often overshadowed indigenous languages and cultural practices, contributing to an identity crisis and a sense of lost heritage among the Burkinabe population. The desire for true independence and self-reliance is not merely a political stance, but a deep-seated aspiration for economic and cultural emancipation. It involves reclaiming control over natural resources, redefining trade relationships, and fostering a national identity that honors indigenous cultures and languages. This holistic approach to independence aims to create a sustainable and autonomous future for Burkina Faso, free from the lingering shadows of colonialism. And how did recent events unfold? The immediate trigger for the suspension of BBC and Voice of America was a report that aired on February 25, 2024. The report claimed that over 200 civilians were killed by the Burkinabe military in 2 northern villages, sparking outrage and condemnation. The Burkinabe government vehemently denied these allegations, labeling the reports as inaccurate and biased. This incident brought to the forefront the long-standing tension between national sovereignty and foreign media narratives. The government's decision to suspend these broadcasters was not taken lightly. It was seen as a necessary step to protect national integrity and prevent the spread of misinformation. The Burkinabe authorities argued that such reports, without thorough verification, could incite unrest and further complicate the already volatile security situation in the country. They contended that the suspension was a defensive measure to maintain public order and national security. The broader context of this decision lies in the historical and ongoing friction between African nations and Western media. Many African leaders and citizens have criticized Western media for a disproportionate focus on negative stories, conflicts, poverty, and corruption, while underreporting positive developments and achievements. This narrative bias, they argue, perpetuates stereotypes and undermines the dignity and progress of African nations. In Burkina Faso, this incident was seen as an opportunity to reclaim control over the country's image and narrative. It underscored the need for a more balanced and respectful portrayal of African countries in the global media landscape. By suspending the BBC and Voice of America, Burkina Faso sent a clear message. It would not tolerate what it viewed as unjust and harmful reporting that undermines its sovereignty and stability. Who is leading Burkina Faso's transformation? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. At the helm of Burkina Faso's transformation is President Ibrahim Traore, a leader whose vision and policies have marked a significant departure from his predecessors. Traore assumed office at the age of 36, bringing a youthful vigor and a bold approach to governance that has resonated with many Burkinabe. His leadership is characterized by a staunch commitment to self-reliance, national pride, and an unyielding pursuit of true independence. Traore's governance philosophy is rooted in the belief that Burkina Faso must rely on its resources and ingenuity to achieve sustainable development. This conviction led him to refuse financial assistance from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund (IMF), institutions known for imposing stringent conditions on their loans. Traore viewed these conditions as detrimental to Burkina Faso's long-term interests, often leading to austerity measures that hurt the most vulnerable populations. Instead of external loans, Traore has championed grassroots funding initiatives. He introduced a policy where government officials and citizens contribute a portion of their salaries to national projects. This approach has fostered a sense of ownership and collective responsibility among Burkinabe, strengthening national unity and resilience. The funds raised have been directed towards infrastructure development, education, and healthcare, areas critical to the country's progress. Traore's leadership has also been marked by a strong stance against corruption and inefficiency. He has instituted rigorous accountability measures to ensure that public funds are used effectively and transparently. His administration has launched numerous anti-corruption campaigns, aiming to build a government that operates with integrity and serves the best interests of the people. Furthermore, Traore's vision extends to fostering regional cooperation and solidarity. He has actively engaged with neighboring countries to address common challenges, such as terrorism and climate change, promoting a united and proactive approach. His efforts to strengthen regional ties have positioned Burkina Faso as a leader in advocating for African solutions to African problems. What does self-reliance mean for Burkina Faso? Does banning media come into that? Self-reliance in Burkina Faso under President Ibrahim Traore is not just a policy directive, but a comprehensive national strategy that seeks to transform the country's socio-economic landscape. Traore's vision for Burkina Faso is to become a nation that stands independently, free from the influence and control of external powers. This vision encompasses various aspects, from economic policies and educational reforms to cultural revival and military independence. Economically, self-reliance means reducing dependency on foreign aid and loans, which often come with conditions that can stifle national development. Traore has focused on harnessing local resources and talents to drive economic growth. This approach includes promoting local industries, supporting small and medium enterprises, and encouraging innovations that can cater to the needs of the Burkinabe people. By fostering a robust domestic economy, Traore aims to create jobs, improve living standards, and ensure sustainable development. In education, self-reliance involves reforming the curriculum to reflect the country's cultural heritage and contemporary needs. Traore has advocated for an educational system that empowers students with practical skills and knowledge relevant to the local context. This reform aims to produce well-equipped graduates to contribute to the national economy and community development, reducing the brain drain and reliance on foreign expertise. Culturally, self-reliance is about reclaiming and celebrating Burkina Faso's rich heritage. This includes promoting indigenous languages, arts, and traditions, which have often been overshadowed by Western influences. Traore's administration has launched initiatives to revive and integrate traditional cultural practices into mainstream society, fostering a sense of national pride and identity. Militarily, self-reliance means building a strong, autonomous defense force capable of protecting the country's sovereignty without relying on foreign military presence. Traore has emphasized the importance of a self-sufficient military, funded by national resources and supported by the public. This shift is crucial given the security challenges Burkina Faso faces, including terrorism and regional instability. By developing a capable and independent military, Traore aims to ensure that Burkina Faso can defend its interests and maintain peace and security. Additionally, self-reliance in Burkina Faso involves strategic international partnerships that are mutually beneficial and respectful of the country's sovereignty. Traore has sought to diversify Burkina Faso's diplomatic and economic ties, engaging with countries and organizations that respect its autonomy. This strategy includes exploring alliances with non-Western powers and regional blocs, creating a balanced and multipolar foreign policy. Traore's holistic approach to self-reliance is transformative, aiming to build a resilient and independent Burkina Faso. It reflects a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of economic, cultural, and military independence, and the need for a unified national effort to achieve true sovereignty. This vision is not just about rejecting foreign influence, but about empowering the Burkinabe people to take charge of their destiny, fostering a sense of collective responsibility and pride. In all sectors, changes are being made, but how is Burkina Faso reimagining its security strategy? Burkina Faso's reimagined security strategy under President Ibrahim Traore is a bold and contentious shift from reliance on foreign military assistance to a focus on national self-defense and regional cooperation. This new approach stems from a growing dissatisfaction with the effectiveness of foreign military presence in combating terrorism and ensuring national security. For years, Burkina Faso, along with other Sahel nations, has been plagued by terrorist activities, exacerbated by the power vacuum following the fall of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. The presence of French troops in Burkina Faso, part of a broader effort to combat terrorism in the Sahel region, has been a source of controversy. Many Burkinabe feel that the foreign military presence has done little to resolve the security crisis and has sometimes even worsened the situation by fostering resentment among local populations. Traore's decision to expel French soldiers is rooted in the belief that Burkina Faso must take control of its security affairs to ensure sustainable peace and stability. Traore's strategy involves restructuring and strengthening the national military to make it more capable and self-sufficient. This includes increasing the defense budget, investing in military training and equipment, and enhancing the capacity of local security forces. The government has also launched national defense initiatives that encourage citizens to contribute financially to the military, fostering a sense of collective responsibility and ownership over national security. Furthermore, Burkina Faso has sought to diversify its military alliances, exploring partnerships with non-Western powers such as Russia and regional organizations like the African Union. This diversification aims to reduce dependency on any single foreign power and to create a more balanced and multipolar security framework. These new alliances are seen as opportunities to gain military support and expertise without the strings attached to traditional Western aid. The reimagined security strategy also emphasizes the importance of addressing the root causes of terrorism, such as poverty, unemployment, and social inequality. Traore's administration has launched several socio-economic development programs aimed at improving living conditions in vulnerable regions. By tackling these underlying issues, the government hopes to reduce the appeal of extremist groups and create a more secure and stable environment. In addition to military and socio-economic measures, Burkina Faso's security strategy includes fostering regional cooperation to address cross-border threats. Traore has actively engaged with neighboring countries to strengthen intelligence sharing, joint military operations, and coordinated responses to terrorism. This regional approach recognizes that security challenges in the Sahel are interconnected and require collaborative efforts to effectively combat them. Traore's security strategy also involves a critical assessment of past policies and practices. This includes examining the role of foreign military interventions and their impact on local dynamics. By learning from these experiences, Burkina Faso aims to develop more effective and context-specific security policies that prioritize the needs and perspectives of its people. Now the question is how critique of Western media comes into Burkina Faso's sovereignty. Burkina Faso's critique of Western media is a significant aspect of its broader strategy to assert national sovereignty and challenge external influences. The suspension of BBC and Voice of America broadcasts following accusations against the Burkinabe military highlights a deep-seated frustration with how Western media often portrays African nations. The government argues that such portrayals are frequently biased, focusing disproportionately on conflict, poverty, and instability while underreporting positive developments and achievements. Western media has a long history of shaping global perceptions of Africa through a lens that many African leaders and citizens find problematic. This narrative bias can perpetuate stereotypes, undermine national pride, and influence international opinion and policy in ways that do not always align with the realities on the ground. For Burkina Faso, the recent suspension of these broadcasters is not just about specific reports, but about a broader effort to reclaim control over its narrative and image on the global stage. The government's response to the allegations of military misconduct is rooted in a broader context of historical and ongoing media dynamics. For decades, African leaders have expressed concerns about the way Western media covers their countries, arguing that it often lacks nuance and context. Reports tend to emphasize negative aspects, such as corruption, violence, and humanitarian crises, while neglecting stories of resilience, innovation, and progress. In Burkina Faso's case, the government contends that the reports by BBC and Voice of America were not only inaccurate, but also harmful, potentially inciting unrest and undermining national security. The decision to suspend these outlets is seen as a protective measure to safeguard the country's stability and ensure that its internal affairs are represented fairly and accurately. This critique of Western media is part of a larger discourse on media representation and power. It raises important questions about who gets to tell the stories of African nations and how these stories influence global perceptions and policies. The Burkinabe government's actions reflect a desire to challenge the dominant narratives and promote a more balanced and respectful portrayal of their country. Moreover, the suspension of BBC and Voice of America has sparked discussions about the role of media in shaping national and international narratives. It highlights the tension between freedom of the press and national sovereignty, with some arguing that media scrutiny is essential for accountability, while others emphasize the need to protect national interests from what they perceive as biased reporting. Burkina Faso's stance resonates with broader movements across Africa and other regions where countries are increasingly asserting their right to control their narratives and challenge external influences. It underscores a growing awareness of the power of media in shaping perceptions and the importance of having diverse and representative voices in the global media landscape. How do Burkinabe and their neighbors view these changes? Within Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traore's policies have garnered substantial support, reflecting a deep-seated desire for independence and self-reliance among the Burkinabe people. Traore's approach, characterized by a rejection of foreign interference and a focus on national pride, resonates with many citizens who have long felt marginalized by external influences. His policies are seen as a bold attempt to reclaim the country's sovereignty and chart a new course for its future. The suspension of BBC and Voice of America, while controversial internationally, has been met with approval by many Burkinabe, who view it as a necessary step to protect national integrity and ensure fair representation. This sentiment is echoed in the widespread support for Traore's grassroots funding initiatives and his refusal of financial assistance from institutions like the World Bank and IMF. By promoting self-reliance and encouraging citizens to contribute to national projects, Traore has fostered a sense of ownership and collective responsibility, strengthening national unity. Traore's policies have also struck a chord with other African nations facing similar challenges of foreign interference and media representation. Leaders and citizens in these countries are increasingly questioning the benefits of Western intervention and exploring ways to assert their sovereignty. Burkina Faso's assertive stance serves as an inspiration for these nations, demonstrating that it is possible to pursue a path of self-reliance and independence. Regionally, Traore's emphasis on strengthening military and security cooperation has been well received. Neighboring countries, particularly those in the Sahel region, recognize the interconnected nature of their security challenges and the need for collaborative efforts. Traore's proactive engagement in regional security initiatives and his efforts to foster intelligence sharing and joint military operations have bolstered regional solidarity and cooperation. Moreover, Traore's focus on addressing the root causes of insecurity, such as poverty and social inequality, has resonated with regional leaders. His socio-economic development programs aimed at improving living conditions in vulnerable regions are seen as crucial steps towards achieving long-term stability and peace. This holistic approach to security, combining military measures with socio-economic interventions, is gaining traction as a viable model for other African nations. Internationally, Burkina Faso's assertive stance has sparked debates about the dynamics of foreign aid, media representation, and national sovereignty. Some critics argue that the suspension of Western media outlets undermines freedom of the press, while others emphasize the importance of respecting national sovereignty and addressing biases in media coverage. This debate highlights the complex interplay between media freedom and national interests, raising important questions about the role of media in global politics. But is propaganda the freedom the media should have? Do you think Burkina Faso is justified in blocking these media outlets? How should nations balance the need for accurate reporting with the right to protect their image? Let us know in the comment section. Should the media be allowed to do Western propaganda? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.